we all know that I'm a Raiden Shogun main. In fact, this channel probably wouldn't exist if not for her. But some of you seem to think that I'm actually a Nilou main. Well, according to some information that I just discovered, apparently I might not be either. You see, the Akasha system is a website where they rank all of your character builds against everybody else's character builds. Essentially, I'm pretty sure that as long as you go into your profile and tick show character details to being on, then that website would compare your builds to everyone else's, which apparently none of my other accounts have that toggled on, so I can't actually see them. We are going to go in order and see what my top 10 ranked character builds are. In 10th place, we have my Cookami. It is also worth noting that a lot of builds on this website might not have leaderboards. Like if you run a DPS Shalonin, there's probably not a leaderboard for that. And that's even more apparent when we get down to some of the 4 stars who might just not have leaderboards at all. But according to what we can see, my Cookami is my 10th best built character when compared to other people's builds for Cookami. And it kind of makes sense because she's on a bit of a weird build. I had swapped her over to be on more of an elemental mastery build when Llama first released because I wanted to put a Hydro character on the team and my Ino wasn't exactly built at the time. And to be fair, she is still not built at all, which I know I should do, but I've been trying to go through and build up my characters one at a time. If they are on this screen here, that means my build for them is done, which Nefa shouldn't be there. Her build was done, but then they released the new artifact, so I have to keep farming there. But this is just so that I can keep track of what characters I am done building, although I'm kind of out of slots on that now. However, yeah, we have a double crowned Cookami at C1 from her initial banner, and this build puts her in the top 89% of Kookamis. But to be fair, it's ranking her on an ER and healing sort of build, which she's not currently on. Like, I literally have her signature weapon here that I could put on her. Her build would be a lot better, but this is just what she has for now. I decided it might be kind of fun that as we go through and look at these builds, we go and test them out. Now, you might be thinking, Java, why would you come fight this with Cookami? This would be so easy because all you have to do is break this with Hydro and then you're good to go. Yeah, that's why I'm doing it. Because as we saw, she's on an elemental mastery build, which means she's really not going to be doing damage. And obviously, I could rebuild her to actually be on an HP, Hydro damage, whatever kind of build. But because this is the build that she was on when I started this video, it's the one I'm going to be keeping her on. Don't worry, in 3 to 4 business days when I get her burst back up, it's going to go crazy. Here we go. Oh my gosh, look at that damage. This actually does make me a little sad because I do like Cookami and this is such a disappointing showcase from her, but that's not her fault. Okay, burst while its core is destroyed, massive, unbelievably huge damage. Now that we have done this, I have to say, I'm kind of surprised this is even in the top 89%. Do not build your Cookami like this unless you absolutely have to for some elemental mastery reason. On the leaderboard, it does usually show what team it is factoring this character's build into, but since Cookami is just a support healer, they don't actually give us a team to use it in. However, that is not the case for our next character, ranked as my 9th best build on the leaderboard, Arlecchino, a character I have genuinely not used since her release. So well, that doesn't make much sense. Okay, I updated the leaderboard and it still didn't update the artifacts. So I put back on the exact artifacts that it thinks she has. She's got her signature weapon. She is C0. Talents, I didn't even fully level. And what do we got for stats? We got this. It's kind of sad. I forget, does she get more crit rate through Bond of Life stuff? I would hope so, because that crit rate is abysmal. As for the artifacts, she's on a 4-piece Gladiators finale, and they're nothing too crazy. I think the circlet's probably the worst one here because, like, what is this doing for her? But this build gets my Arlecchino in the top 75%. As we can see, they're putting her on a melt team with Citlali. I don't know if all these characters are built. I mean, kinda, sorta. It has been so long since I used Arlecchino that I don't think I remember how. I'm gonna take a card that shouldn't give us any sort of help. And now you're all gonna witness the atrocity that is me trying to do this in a semi-correct manner, of which I don't know what that is. So, there's a burst or is a skill first? I know there's a charged attack at some point. I know we do that. I mean, hopefully this is somewhat accurate. I feel like my Arlecchino should be ranked even lower, considering I don't even know how to play her. Oh, I just remembered, or at least I remembered part of it. You want to use this skill and then do your setup stuff, I think. Then you go back to her and do a charged attack and start doing normals, maybe charged. I don't know if you actually throw charged attacks in there. And then we'll use the burst because we have it, so we might as well. Once again, I feel like top 75% is a little generous. Coming in as my 8th best ranked character is Skirk. Did you like that reveal? That was great, right? Wow, the technology is amazing. One reason why I'm happy that I pulled Skirk is because it gave a home to this weapon, which otherwise would not have had a user. She's got her relevant talents at level 8. She's C0, and she's on 2-piece Finale of the Deep Gallery's 2-piece Hunter. Maybe a little bit of a weird build. I think it's exactly what I put on her when I first got her on the account to test her out. But that gets her stats to look like this, which I don't think is that bad. I mean, we don't need energy recharge on her. And then she's at 27% cryo damage bonus, though it's not that much better than my last build because it only puts her in the top 70%. However, we can replicate the team that they're ranking her with, so let's see how it goes. I would love to test against different bosses in the overworld, but a lot of them have weird gimmicks or resistances, or they just die before I can even set up all the damage. And then I'd go to floor 12, but the Pickle Man's there, so I can't really do that, which is why I'm testing on floor 11. So just know that Electro characters and Dendro characters are buffed in here, but I pretty much don't have any Dendro characters built, so that's not a problem. I will also keep taking this card so that it does not affect what we're doing, although technically it did affect Shelonin on the last team because she skills off defense, but we don't care about that. I also have not used Skirk in quite a while, so regarding her rotation, I don't really know what it is. I also don't know if you're supposed to hold or press the skill for Shenhe's buff. Well, I know you're not supposed to do that, that's for sure, but you know what? I wanted to see a pretty animation, so that's what I did. And then we spam... How do I have all these characters, but I don't know how to use them? This makes no sense. Okay, here we go. We're gonna get that up. I'm gonna wait a little bit. Okay, I can't really wait. They're gonna die. So we're gonna use the held skill from Shenhe. We'll get all of our Furina buffs going. Then we want to press the skill, do normal attacks here. Look at that. I'm learning. I'm doing stuff. And then we can use the burst. I completely missed, but that's fine. And we can see it's doing some pretty nice damage. And yes, I had to leave the Spiral Abyss to reread the kits to find out what I was supposed to be doing in that rotation, but there's nothing wrong with that, I tell myself. So that is what a Skirk in the top 70% looks like. I know, very exciting, but we're making a big jump here because up next is Vessa. This is a character that I actually remember how to play. Wait. What? Do all characters' idle animations continue playing even when you swap menus? Because hers does. All right, Shelonin, idle animation. Go up here. I don't hear it. It stopped. Now she pulls out the DJ table. We go up here. It stops. No music. All right, Flynn's idle animation. Go up here. It does keep continuing. But Vessa's the only one who has the sound persist even when you change the menu. That's interesting. Learn something new every day. Just like I learned that I didn't finish leveling her talents. But she is on her signature weapon, and I was able to get her onto the plunging attack set. They might not be the perfect artifacts. I mean, this one is pretty nice, but it did take me quite a while to get these, and obviously I have to farm for other characters, so I couldn't just spend all my time in that domain. With these artifacts combined, we see this sort of stat spread, and that ranks her in the top 25%. Obviously, this is on an overloaded team. My Eonsan is only C2, whereas with how they rank this, they're pairing it with a C6 Eonsan just to keep everyone's damage consistent, but she still works just fine. And then according to the rankings, we can slap on any other pyro damage dealer. Oh no. I was just making sure all these characters had builds, and I saw this. Usually when I use Chevres, I give her the Staff of Homa, which reminded me that we just used our Escoffier. So if we go check what weapon she was on, yeah. Luckily, we weren't testing Escoffier's personal damage. But this is what happens when I make random videos, is sometimes I just destroy character builds and forget to change them back. Anyways, Vessa overloaded time. We're gonna first hit them with some Electro, set up this so that we can then use this. We can use this for boom, bada bang. I don't think I ever needed to use your burst, so whatever. And then we can start doing plunging attacks. That's the fun part of this. We throw in the burst, big damage, and the enemies kind of get deleted. Now here's just an example of me shutting up and just focusing on the actual rotation so I could do it properly. And as we can see, there's some pretty good damage in there. So you know what? Top 25% Vessa. I kind of want it to get higher, or I guess lower technically because it's a percent. Maybe I'll try to do that at some point, but she already works pretty well. And there's a lot of other characters I still need to build. However, for my number 6 spot, we don't actually have to take everyone off the team here because it is Mavuika. And I'll be honest, that surprises me a little bit. According to that website, there are about 576,000 Mavuikas that it's ranking me against, and mine needs her talents leveled, but supposedly she's in the top 20%. She is on the correct artifact set, which for my account seems to be a very rare occurrence. Now, ideally, I would like to put her on an attack percent sans, but I have not gotten a good one yet. So she's on Elemental Mastery, and then we get the Pyro Damage Goblet. If she's ever with a Furina, I don't really need Pyro Damage there. I'd rather have attack percent again. And then the Circlet is crit damage with very little crit rate. And considering that she's a fairly popular character, I think, I'm just surprised that she's ranked as highly as she is. Now, if we go and look at the rankings, they are putting her on a vaporized team with Furina, Shalonen, and Bennett. That is definitely something I can do. I'm kind of surprised they don't have her on a melt team with Seatlali, but if this is the team that they ranked her on, this is the team I will test it with. So we'll go ahead, we'll start putting up our buffs. I guess I'll just use this now. We can't get too much HP back, unfortunately. I would like to use burst, please. 300, what's that, only 330 something thousand? But like, this just destroys everything. I forgot how much of a delete button she is. Also, if I remember correctly, my highest damage on the account was dealt with Mavuika at 2.4 million, though that was of course on a Seatlali melt team. I will say that was the fastest of any of the teams that we tried out so far when clearing the same floor. But yeah, there's still a ton of room for improvement on here. And you know what's kind of funny is even though my Furina is currently on a bit of a different build because I use her with my Nilou, she is my 5th highest ranking build. Once again, we'll quickly look through the artifacts. I do like this one a lot for her. Her and Nilou do compete quite a bit for some of these pieces. Of course, she's on a 4-piece golden troop and she's on hydro damage, and then a crit rate circlet with crit damage, energy recharge, and HP percent. Again, I could swap her to her signature weapon, but I'll leave her entirely as is. We have 0 elemental mastery, love to see that. And when I do use her with my Nilou team, between all the buffs that are happening, her HP shoots up to like 70,000. And yeah, she's C2 because her C2 is just so nice. Now for Furina's team, they don't exactly give us one. They just say a hydro teammate and then 2 other characters. Furina herself is usually not the main DPS. She's kind of a sub DPS and support. So you know what? Hey, Cookami, you want to come back again? You know what? Let's just bring the Archons. I won't use the bursts, but I feel like the best way of showcasing my Furina is just by how strong my other characters can be when they're buffed by her. I mean, her skill still hits for some decent damage, albeit less than normal due to, like I said, she's on a different build for the Nilou team. But we can mess with HP using Cookami here, and then we have the other Archons just doing Archon stuff in the background. Oh, and then look, Furina is at 70,000 HP. So that was definitely not the fastest team that we've used, but that's to be expected as I was just slapping Furina into a random team with random characters. However, as some of you may have seen, she's in the top 12% of Furina builds. Now we are moving towards the heavy hitters. Furina was the top 12%, but this is where we jump up to the top 4%, because apparently that is where my Mualani is, which is nice because I think she's probably my favorite character that came out of Natlan, which is probably evident by the fact that she is C3. I couldn't help but keep pulling every time her banner showed up. Of course, she's on 4-piece Obsidian Codex, and we can just scroll through these artifacts here. She's on an HP percent Sands, a hydro damage bonus goblet, and a crit damage circlet. So when she uses Night Soul stuff, she gets 40% additional crit rate, bringing her to a 91 to 282 crit ratio. She's got barely any energy recharge, but it doesn't matter. I don't use her for her burst. I have to say, the team that they place her with is interesting. My Candace is not built whatsoever, though to be fair, neither is my Xianling. Like, she has artifacts, but I don't consider this built. It also seems kind of odd that in a vaporized team, they're having me pair her with Candace, who's going to be stealing vaporizes. But they did make note that it's for a vaporized team, so I would rather just bring these two. And then they have Shalonen as the last character. I know this is deviating a bit from what they're showing, but I don't have the Candace built, and I don't see how she would really fit into this. I'm sure she has some sort of constellation or something that's going to be helping Mualani out, but I would rather just have more power application so that we can actually see the vaporizes. Here we go. We'll go for this. We'll go for a little bit of that. We'll set up our pyro-y stuff, get that going, and then we'll nuke for 859,000 damage. Then it goes down a bit because we don't have the buffs from C1 all the time. I guess I'll use the burst just to see what that hits for. It is 547,000. Then we'll use this again because why not? And with the way that her kit is set up, she's not designed to do a bunch of little numbers. She just does one massive nuke, and it's just fun to use, which is probably why she's C3. But now we're heading into my top 3 best built characters according to this website. You can probably assume that Raiden's gonna be among them, and for that matter, Nilou's probably up there too, right? However, spoiler alert, neither of them are my number 1. So coming in at my 3rd best build on the account, it is not Nilou, it is the Raiden Shogun. Now you might be thinking, I knew it, Java. You're not a real Raiden Shogun main. You wouldn't let Nilou be higher than Raiden Shogun. But listen, okay, hear me out. Triple crown, by the way, because of course. Best character in the game, what can I say? C4, because of course. Signature weapon, because of course. Raiden Shogun is a very popular character, so there is a lot more competition for trying to get a good Raiden build. I have actually improved on these since the last time that you've seen Raiden. We got our double crit flower. We got our double crit energy recharge feather, I know that word. Sans, energy recharge, double crit. Goblet is offset electro damage bonus. Could be attack percent based on what team she's going in, but I just don't have a great one for her. And I mean, look at the crit. And then the circlet, crit rate with crit damage, energy recharge, and attack percent. For the longest time, she had about 60% crit rate and would always miss her crits, so I had been trying to farm for better pieces, and now she's at a 74-140 crit ratio with 301% energy recharge. Of course, a 127% electro damage bonus as well. And so I'm pretty happy with how she's built. If we look at the website, of course, they're pairing her with Kujo, Sara, and Bennett. I don't really have a Kujo, Sara build. I should. I've thought of building her before just because, you know, Raiden Shogun. But look at these numbers. Top 3%. 31,000, but out of 1.3 million. With all the other characters that we looked at, the next closest in terms of how many different people's builds it was looking at was Arlecchino's at about 800,000 people. And after that was Mavuika with about 570,000 different builds. The rest of the characters fell around the 300,000 mark. So Raiden is at 1.3 million people that I'm competing with. And I mean, rightfully so, she's the best character in the game. Now I could do this for the team. Of course, like I said, my Kujo Sara is not really in a position to be used. She's all the way down here at level 50. Maybe someday I need to do a video where I give Raiden Shogun her signature support, but I'll be honest, I almost expect my Shalonen to be able to help her out more. It is a little disappointing that Raiden is not my best build on the account. However, like I said, 1.3 million builds. So I don't think top 3% is really that bad. Well, let's see how she does on this floor. We shall do our shenanigans for setting stuff up. I don't know that I really need this, but I guess I'll do it. And then burst. I couldn't really see what number it hit. He died so fast. And the best part of this is I get my burst back before my burst is even done. So then I can just switch around, set everything back up, go back to Raiden, use it again. And with the Shalonen C2, it reduces the cooldown of Raiden's burst by 6 seconds. So she can kind of just spam it as much as she wants. Normally it's an 18-second cooldown, but we can get that down to 12 seconds. So in practice, we set up all of our buffs. We burst with Raiden, then when that's done, we can kick a few times with a Shalonen. Oops, back to bursting. And she's even got this nice purple flowery fart trail. Still the best character in the game. Then, as we already know, my second best build on the account is my Nilou. I love using this build. Of course, I have her skill and burst both crowned. She is C6 because this C6 turns her from a support into a main DPS. And honestly, for a character that starts out as a support who just enables a different type of reaction, a lot of her constellations do seem kind of DPS focused, which is a massive part of why she's even C6 to begin with. It gives her an entirely different playstyle. For the artifacts, we are on a 2-piece Golden Troop, 2-piece Heart of Depth, and we are looking for double crit HP percent on all of these. And it's kind of funny that it doesn't highlight these stats because technically that's not what you would normally want on a Nilou. But no, for us, this is what we want. Like, look at this HP percent. HP, double crit, ER, it's perfect. Yes, Elemental Mastery is still good for her if we want to use her on a Vaporized team. And honestly, some of these pieces like this, I feel like I could improve. Maybe I'll have to use some Sanctifying Elixir on her in the future. But then, like we mentioned, she's on Furina's signature weapon. It gives her crit damage, and then as her HP changes, she gets more HP. And of course, more skill damage. Now, for her constellation at C6, you want her at 50,000 HP to get all of the bonuses. As we could see, mine is not at 50,000 HP, but I always use her with Furina, which gives us the Hydro Resonance bonus, increasing HP by 25%. And as we saw from this weapon, as her HP changes, her HP increases. So we do get her HP to go over 50,000 by using Furina's skill. But we can have a look at the website here where we see top 2% of all Nilous, though they're going with a C6 Vaporized team. That's not what I'm using her on. In fact, for a Vaporized team, this isn't really ideal because I have 16 whole Elemental Mastery. But look at that. Oh, we're so close to the top. And now here's the thing. I did go one day and I started swapping around artifacts, swapping around weapons, trying to get her even higher on the leaderboard, and I did. However, with the build that I had to swap her to get her higher on the leaderboard, she would overall perform worse in the teams that I used her in normally. The way that I have her built is specifically for the way that I use her on this account. And because of that, when she's on those builds, she ranks a little bit lower on the overall Vaporized leaderboard because that's not how I play her. So that goes back to what I was saying earlier. Not every single build is properly represented on that, but it gives us a nice little baseline to work with, and it's kind of just fun to see. But no, this is how I use my Nilou. We set up a bunch of stuff here. Okay, then we can put up Furina's burst. Then we put up Shalonen's burst. Then we put Nilou on the field, start normal attacking, and everything just starts getting deleted. Look at this. Oh, it's so beautiful. We can throw in a burst in there because why not? Oh, over 200,000 damage. Love to see it. Really quickly so that we can see the actual stats at play here. I'm not going to use Furina's burst here, although I kind of want to, but we'll just set up this basic stuff and then go in here. 59,000 HP from setting up Furina's skill and Shalonen's skill. Obviously, Shalonen C2 gives Hydro characters an additional 45% HP, and that gets our crit ratio at 70 to 341. I can get her crit rate to like 95 or higher percent, though obviously I'd be losing out on crit damage if I did that. I'm okay with missing out on some crits if it means I get to see bigger damage. But unfortunately, this is not my strongest character, according to the leaderboards. Who is the strongest build, you ask? Well, apparently it is Yelan, which, as I mentioned in a recent video, I'm fairly certain that once she was released, I built her, maybe swapped one or two pieces later down the line, and that was it. She is C1, just so that her energy recharge problems are not as much of a problem. She is on her signature weapon, and don't worry guys, I promise the outfit definitely makes her stronger, or at least it definitely gives a buff to her hairstyle, and that probably counts for something. But yeah, she's on a 4-piece Emblem Severed Fates. I have to say, this is a pretty nice piece for her. For the feather, double crit HP percent, flat HP. Again, very nice. Like, looking at these, I can understand why she's ranked so highly. I don't know how she got these pieces, but somehow she found them and she's running with them. Although I did also notice her skills only level 8. I should probably level that, and it looks like I might be able to... Oh, now I'm obligated to say it. Nice. Let's go ahead and have a... Oh, she has 0 EM too. That's fine. It's so fine. Let's have a look at the stats. 81 to 264 crit ratio, 152% energy recharge, 46% hydro damage bonus, and without any other characters on the team, 35,000 HP. On the website, she is ranked in the top 1% of all Yelans, and they don't even put her on a specific team here. So you know what we're gonna do? She's meant to be a sub DPS. You know who's a main DPS? My Nilou. I do use these together sometimes, and honestly, what I like to do, bring Furina as well, and then slap on Shalonen. Mono Hydro. Basically, I mean, you know, she's the mono hydro. First, because this is going to be showing Yelan not really being the spotlight, let's just show what her damage looks like. We'll start by using her skill, which we can see hits for 39,000. Of course, this is all with no reactions. And for her burst, we can see 11,000 each, 12,000, about 12,000 going up as we do it for longer. With the team using other hydro characters, she gets more HP. And then furthering that with the C2 Shalonen, she gets even more HP. So we'll put that up. We'll put up Shalonen's burst, go to Yelan, do that burst, and now we can just use Nilou's skill and start attacking. And as we see, there's a hell... I can't even English. I can't even talk. There's so much hydro damage happening. Sometimes I'll even throw Kazuha on the team just for even more shredding. Of course, we can also throw her onto a team with the Raiden Shogun. And I threw a Neff on there because, you know, lunar charged. Now, as we saw, most of my characters don't really have much elemental mastery. And I did go onto floor 12 this time because we're actually using lunar charged. So watch this. Okay, we set up our bursts. Very nice. We use this, and we can just tear straight through the shield, straight through this stupid pickle that I know is a cactus, but I will refuse to call it a cactus because I do not respect it. And yeah, it's pretty effective. So yeah, these are my highest 3 ranking characters on the leaderboards, but I never would have expected that my Yelan was my highest ranking one. Am I supposed to be a Yelan main now? Because it's not going to happen. I'm over here with these two. I just thought this was kind of interesting, and I thought it'd be fun to see where my builds currently are on this account. So I hope you guys did enjoy, and as always, I shall see you all next time.